All right. We're going to bring in John from GRG Playscapes. John, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we sure can. How you doing, John?
Fantastic, fantastic. Great to be here. I'm super excited to have a conversation with y'all.
I know, and I think the audience is waiting to hear from you and want to hear less from me. So I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Yep. Well, Jonathan, just give me a heads up if there's any issues with my buffering. I'm attempting to be outside my office window, and if there's any issues, I can move locations here. But if you can hear me okay now, I'm gonna get rolling here.
Yeah, John, you're all set.
Okay, perfect.
Keep it
All
going.
right. So here's what I want to talk to you today about. What we call the outdoor play revolution, and it's a really exciting work that we get to do here at GRG Playscapes. We're harvesting trees and stripping bark and building tree houses and climbing structures and balance and sand play areas, playhouses, and all kinds of things for mostly commercial, but we also build spaces for residential homes and families as well. I've been doing this for a long time, and over the last decade or so, I've been transitioning from uh, outdoor living spaces to outdoor play. Um, so it's really exciting to be here. I'm going to dive right in. So this first concept here um, that I want to just talk about, just kind of like the big picture of what we do and why what we do is different than a typical playground company. And the big concept here, this is for a commercial setting in actually in Chicago. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that what we create is our worlds of wonder. And so essentially what we're saying here is that instead of creating a structure or a one piece of equipment or designating that little corner for kids to play in, what we like to help people understand and consider is that what kids really want is a world to enter, a full environment. And so this is kind of the the really exciting part of kind of what we get to do is we're making landscaping with playgrounds and using an innovative material, long-lasting material, to create what we call playscapes. And in this sense, a world of wonder for kids' imagination, for gross motor skill development, for social skills, for emotional, and essentially just to allow them to become who they are meant to become, but through and within a play environment. So that's the first concept, worlds of wonder. And so what this really drives is an opportunity for the kids to be in an unscripted environment. So if you've ever, we've all seen the standard play equipment. Nothing against it. There's a place for it, but largely what it does is it's a scripted environment. So it's telling you, you go up the stairs here, you go down the slide here, you go up this climber in this way and this way and this way. And what it does is it kind of encapsulates their imagination and frames it and tells them to do it. And what I think we understand from cognitive development and from child development is that kids need to explore their abilities in all sorts of ways, and it's different for every kid in every situation. And so the spaces we create, all the designs that we come up with, are all built around this idea of creating an unscripted play environment. And so what this is just it's a phenomenal when you see a kid in a space that is designed in this way and it's properly built. It really really, you see them come alive in really magical ways, and it's one of the favorite things I get to do is watch kids in that sort of zone, and it really is a zone, just like on the basketball court or on the soccer field. When you see a child or in an art studio or in music class or what have you, when you see a child fully engrossed in the moment of experience, and whether it be social or physical or whatever it is. They're fully engrossed in that space, in that moment. It's really a magical thing. And so what we're after is trying to really kind of go after that, that part of the brain that engages at that level, and really bring out the magic and excitement and the full world of experience that comes in those moments. And even more than that, those are the moments, if we think back in our lives, those moments and those spaces and those places where you got to play, or those experiences on teams, and those are the moments that really feed us for the rest of our lives. And so if we can really push on those buttons in the early, especially early childhood, but all throughout childhood, if you create those environments where they can have those experiences, they're going to draw on them for a long, long time. So one of the ideas that we're utilizing is what we call adventure play, which is it's similar to what playgrounds are typically designed around, which is growing that physical use of your body, learning how to use your body, developing your upper body strength, developing balance. That is absolutely critical part of childhood and a really essential part of play. And so we do that. It's a big part of what we do at GRG Playscapes, is develop innovative ideas around how to engage children's gross motor skills and their physical bodies, and really entice them to engage physically on a daily basis. Here I'm just kind of showing off a couple pictures, but we're doing tree climbers and tree houses and slides and balance courses and ropes and nets and all kinds of ideas to pull that off. So here is an example of that, and using upper body strength is really critical. So using rings, balance courses. This is also an example of the materials we're using. Using black locust to create post seams. So it's just kind of a natural a sense of place that you're getting from the materials that we're using to create these adventure play components. The next concept, which is really was quite profound, when we started to understand play and start to think about developing whole spaces that for play, is really understanding that in order to have a highly effective balance between adventure play and what we call village play is really kind of where the magic comes out. So village play, the way we define and understand it, it's essentially imagination stations, places to gather. So it's sand play. So this is a residential backyard sand play area. But the child in the right moment, this child came into this space and spent 3 hours, playing in that sand with imagination running wild. So that's what a village play entices. So village play is also playhouses. Every child, every childhood experience, we all have those memories of building forts and castles and little nooks and crannies in our house, or outdoor spaces. Or if you're lucky enough to have gone to play in the woods, you've probably collected branches and created your own forts. So that's what village play is. And I always like to say that it's really quite amazing that you can have a fantastic adventure play experience in an outdoor space, but more often than not, over time, that adventure play space is going to transform into an imaginative village play experience if it's designed properly. So kids aren't going to spend hours and hours running and climbing and jumping, right? They're going to need to balance that running and climbing and jumping with that social kind of imaginative, or solo, but really driven by their imagination. And so, we are really focused on creating that village play component as a balance to the adventure play, and as an understanding that that's going to be probably in the end, far more beneficial in terms of time spent in a play environment. So this here is again, I'm just kind of showing some pictures of how we do Village Play. So in the corner there, we have a branch pergola. So, this is essentially the framework for a fort. It's a simple concept, and it's whimsical. It's playful. On the left side here, you can see some kids playing and interacting. This is just a simple fort sort of space that allows them to engage in a creative way, and again, an open-ended, unscripted way where they're determining what happens in the environment. What does this play become? What sort of stories? You can only imagine the stories that they're coming up with as they're interacting in this environment. And it's always fascinating to hear feedback as to what sort of submarine they're in, or some sort of spaceship, or who knows what. So that again is an example of what this village play and imaginative play is all about. Here again is an example of what we would often do for village play experiences, is creating water. There's few things that transport you as much as water in an outdoor environment. And if you're allowing those kids to interact with that water in a safe way, that can be a really profound and life-changing experience for a lot of kids. The next concept here is this is loose parts, right? So, again, when childhood is it's kind of all about making it up, right? You need to really get the most out of a day, for a kid. And so what we're doing is we're just kind of offering opportunities for them to make their space, to remake their space, so that it's their environment. So, in facilitating that in play environments, whether this is your own backyard, or this is a school space or a daycare environment, using loose parts, having loose parts available for kids is absolutely cool. I've been at this for a long time, and here and there you can get pushback. The kids are going to bang on something, or they're going to hurt themselves, or this or that. But it's amazing once you give kids the freedom to create with these pieces of wood, or they can be, loose parts can mean lots of different things. That they will more often than not honor the use of that material for its intended purpose. And when they don't, that's an opportunity to teach, for kids to learn that certain tools have a specific use. And there's no difference for a plank of wood than it is for your fork at the lunch table. So this is the intended use for this is for construction. It's for stacking and manipulating your space. And so you can see here, this is a pretty simple concept. What we have here is essentially the mismatch cedar boards, and 6x6 and 2x4s and 2x6s, and all different shapes and sizes. And you can see these kids fully engaged in trying to understand, how am I going to put this together and that together, and it kind of, they could go out here and spend a lot of time manipulating these parts. And if you see this as just one of the multiple spaces in an outdoor place, again, whether it's your backyard or a school or daycare center, if this is a place where they can go to manipulate these pieces, but they also can go and maybe go into the sandbox, or maybe they can go in a balance area, or maybe there's a fort for them to play with. You can start to see how you piece together a full world for these children to engage with at a high level. So so these kids will take this and they'll build this like this today, but I guarantee you it'll be something else tomorrow, and maybe for a few days they'll go off to something else, but they will come back to those parts. And more often than not, if you do nothing else in your space, if you manipulate their space, you will be you will not be disappointed. Kids will always go after the things that can be picked up and moved, and so they can make it their own, whether it's a stick falling from a tree, or if it's the mulch or if it's the plants growing between the cracks of a sidewalk, or pebbles on a beach, or whatever it is. They're always going to go after the manipulatables because they can own it. They have a sense of ownership over it. So that's a critical part of a very highly effective play environment, is to allow that sort of ownership. I'm going to look at my time here. So I have a few minutes here. So I'm just going to kind of go into a few other items, just to chat with you about how this all works, and maybe some other pictures I can snap through here. But I this is really important. This quote here, and this, these kids on the right here. So, children are free to be anything when they are truly alive, fully engaged participants in a natural world of wonder and imagination. It's so true. It's that high level of engagement. In a world that encourages them to be imaginative, that trusts them enough to be fully engaged, and honors their need to take ownership over the space. That's a world that's full of wonder and imagination, and it doesn't take much. I talk to teachers and daycare leaders and parents, oftentimes, and it's really primarily, having a space, or having an environment that is what I like to call it a yes space. So it's not, no, don't do that. No, don't pick that up. No, don't move that from this space to that space. Don't go over there. No, it's like, okay, well, let's enter in a world together where they are free to navigate it within particular boundaries. Of course, every environment has boundaries. That's critical. You don't take a stick and you don't poke somebody with it, or you don't go into the neighbor's yard if it's not a friendly neighbor, right? So there's always particular boundaries that are important, but to understand that within those boundaries, there's a whole world of possibilities, and we don't need to control necessarily as adults what happens with that, because that child needs their own sense of control in order to engage at a high level, or else they're going, if their only place they can have that sense of control and creativity is with a video game. Nothing against video games. I think they have tremendous value, but that sense of control in an outdoor environment where they can be creative is a great balance for all the technology and the structure that are in 95% of most of our kids' lives. So that openness, creating that yes space, whether it's in your backyard or in your school or at your daycare center, or even when you take them to the park, take them through the walk of the woods, and allowing them to pick things up, allowing them to climb on those trees, allowing them to make things in those spaces is absolutely, the most important, thing I think we can do when we're creating an outside with our kids.
Absolutely, and you know what, John? I think we can all see your passion for this. It's always neat when I actually talk to someone who really not only believes in what they do, but has a passion for it. And it came through in today's presentation. I really love the fact that we talked about when you have all the blocks and you actually let kids build things. We talk about how to work in the trades industry. We talk about how to get people excited about working with their hands. I think if you can get them at this level, how cool is it to have them start putting all these things together and moving them around? So, I think what you're doing here is fantastic. I can't wait to see more of your Playscapes out and there. Let our kids play with them. So, John, thank you for your time today, and we look forward to having you the next time. All right, John?